The Lions took Brian Branch with the 46th pick in 2023, and he was immediately one of their best defensive players. After Aiden Hutchinson, it would be between Brian Branch and probably Aleem McNeil just based on last year. He played the majority of his snaps in the slot. He had 11 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. He was reliable in coverage, high impact run defender. He's already established himself as one of the best nickel corners in the NFL and should be a foundational piece of the Lions defense going forward. These are his stats from 2023. The rank is out of qualifying slot corners. He had the most pass breakups and interceptions, the highest zone coverage grade, and the highest run stop rate at 8.61%. And he actually had the highest run stop rate of any defensive back last year, 1.5% higher than second place. In coverage, he was one of the most consistent defensive backs at preventing separation. This plot has target rate on the y-axis and separation prevented on the x. And out of the qualifying corners, he ranked 11th in separation prevented. It's very similar to what we were talking about in the Devin Witherspoon video. Brian Branch is one of these do-it-all slot corners that stuffs the stat sheet in every single phase, and by playing your most talented defensive back in the slot, that guarantees that he's going to be close to the ball, around the action as often as possible. And I actually want to start by looking at his run defense. It might not be the best aspect of his game, but it is the best relative to other defensive backs. I mentioned he had the highest run stop rate of any defensive back last year. It's actually the 5th highest of any defensive back in PFF's database, which goes back to 2006. And a stop is a tackle that results in an unsuccessful play for the offense. It's kind of just filtering out the low quality cleanup tackle type of plays. And Branch is just belligerent in run support. He isn't that big, but he has no fear of contact. He attacks blocks on the perimeter. He's violent with his hands, relentless pursuit to the football. He's consistently knifing through those half-hearted receiver blocks on the backside of the play and making the tackle close to the line of scrimmage. But for all of his aggressiveness, he keeps himself in good position, doesn't lose contain or get influenced out of his gap. He was one of the best tackling defensive backs that I've ever evaluated coming out of college. He had a few misses last year, but still a solid tackler overall. Run support might seem like kind of a secondary skill set for a defensive back, and yeah, you're not going to be on the field if you're a liability in coverage, but you look at so many of the offenses in today's NFL, they're predicated on attacking the alley and forcing the slot corner to defend the run. If you have a nickel that's passive engaging with blocks that you can't trust as a tackler, the offense is going to identify and exploit that as often as possible. But he was also extremely reliable in coverage. He's disruptive at the line of scrimmage when they play him in press. He has good short area quickness to stay connected to route breaks and play tight man coverage. He doesn't have elite speed, which is why he ended up falling out of the first round, but that didn't show itself as a major problem last year very often at all. This play against the Falcons, Drake London's trying to run a quick slant on 3rd and 4. London stems him outside a little bit with this release fake and gets his hips rotated to the sideline, but he's light on his feet. He quickly swivels his hips to mirror the break. Good job using his inside hand, not necessarily to slow Drake London down, but just to assist him in turning his hips, and then he gets his hand in the passing lane to force the incompletion. So the Lions definitely struggled at times playing man coverage last year. I think the offseason investment that they've made at the cornerback position speaks to that, but Brian Branch was not a part of the problem. There are probably going to be some deep threats that just have a speed advantage and they're able to beat him over the top, but he's quick, he's smart, he does a good job of recovering when he does get beat initially, and he's not a player where you can just line up your best receiver in the slot and immediately have an advantage. He was also great in zone coverage. Like I said, highest graded slot corner last year in zone. I'm pretty sure I already broke this play down in a video I did after like week 4, but it's so good I got to talk about it again. So the Falcons are running a play action bootleg keeper to the left side. First of all, he identifies the play fake immediately, like as quick of play recognition as you could have without getting it from some tell. They've got a flood concept to the left side with a deep outbreaking route, an intermediate route from Kyle Pitts, and then a flat route. If Branch tried to just keep eyes on the quarterback and backpedal to the sideline, Ritter would most likely be able to get this over his head. So once he identifies the play, he turns his back to the quarterback, sprints to Kyle Pitts' position, makes contact with the route, then he turns his head and looks for the ball. And at that point, he's already in great position. He just has to lift a hand and get a pass breakup. This play, the Broncos are running a stick slot fade concept to the right side. The Lions are in cover 2. The slot fade is basically just an alert against man coverage. So Branch is responsible for this hook curl zone, but the initial stem of the slot fade does widen him out a little bit. Russell Wilson has space to fit in this stick route, but but Branch makes a perfect break on the pass. Great job here on 3rd and short of not just hitting the tight end as hard as possible, but actually leading with his hands, playing the ball, raking it out. This play from the Cowboys game, the Lions are in too high initially, but post-snap they rotate into cover 3, and if you watch Dak Prescott at all last season, you'll know his favorite route to throw is a seam route, and those are most effective against cover 3. They got Jake Ferguson running the seam off of the speed motion. Brian Branch does a great job connecting to the route, backhand on the receiver's hip, plays the ball with his offhand and gets a pass breakup. There were a few games throughout the year where he would play some snaps at safety. This play against Minnesota, they're in kind of a disguised too high pressure coverage. Branch starts out the play at center field. They've got DJ Moore running a deep corner to the sideline. Justin Fields is a little bit late getting rid of the ball. That's a brief pause for gasps, but Branch drives on the route, undercuts it, forces the incompletion. You also see an underneath zone coverage. He's got the short area explosiveness to break on these quick flat routes. Nice pass breakup here against Christian Watson, and then another nice play from the Vikings game. Again, making sure he's connected to the route first, then getting his head up and looking for the ball. Really, the only area he struggled as a rookie was just some issues with coverage discipline, specifically in the red zone. He gave up 5 touchdowns last year. They all came within the 12-yard line, and these are touchdowns that PFF and Sports Info Solutions said he gave up, but it could have easily been someone else's responsibility on a few of these. This play against the Chiefs, he gets influenced to widen out by this swing route. Blake Bell is uncovered in the end zone. He gave up a couple touchdowns on broken plays or extended routes. This first one from the Seahawks game, he's covering Tyler Lockett. He breaks outside, sits down. Branch looks back to the quarterback. He gets out leveraged and just can't recover that space. And then right here against the Ravens, he covers Nelson Aguilar for literally 10 seconds before he finally allows some separation and gives up the touchdown. I watch this play and think about how the Lions need to improve their pass rush. I'm not necessarily blaming a corner for not holding up for 15 seconds in man coverage. And then right here, he's actually playing pretty tight coverage on Jaden Reed, but Jordan Love is able to thread the needle and they get a touchdown. So Brian Branch was one of the best rookies of any position from last year's draft class. I'm doing a lot of these videos breaking down people's rookie seasons, saying like this guy was good, this guy was okay, this guy played bad. So it's kind of difficult to quantify it one after the other, but this is how I would rank the 2023 defensive backs rookie seasons. Christian Gonzalez only played a few games, but he was outstanding. I thought Joey Porter was the best outside corner of the 2023 rookies. And then after that, I think you could make the argument for Brian Branch or Devin Witherspoon. They both had very similar seasons, playing pretty much the same position, and I do think the top 4 are comfortably in a tier of their own. And then this is my scouting report for Brian Branch based on his rookie season to sum everything up. Main thing to improve is the coverage busts in the red zone, but I think overall his rookie season was a resounding success.